Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. This is our 35th anniversary film festival. We're very, very excited about the programming, and we're talking to the creative team behind Chrissy Judy, which is our closing night film this year, and a film that all of our programmers love so much. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go around the room and introduce you all, and then we'll jump into some questions. Please welcome the director and star of the film, Todd Flaherty.
Hi.
We also have star Wyatt Fenner.
Hi there.
We have Joy Taranto. We have James Tison.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing? And we have Kiyon Spencer.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks so much for doing this. I adore this film. Todd, I'll just start with a basic question. How did this film come up?
Well, I think like most people who are queer, I have had these really formative queer friendships. And I can't say that this is necessarily biographic in any way, but I definitely have had very formative friendships like this that I wanted to tell this story about. I think I love queer cinema, and I've said a couple times before, I think like most queer cinema that we have is either, based around three different types of stories, either a coming out story or a story of unrequited or forbidden love, or like a pandemic AIDS story. And I hadn't really ever seen a story about chosen family and about these friendships that we have that are so fragile, especially in modern times with marriage equality, and what happens to these friendships when romance gets in between them.
And, I love the fact that this film is just so character driven. I mean, I love this. So we're going to go around the Zoom room, and I'm going to get you all to talk briefly about your characters. So why don't we start with you, Todd? Just tell us about Chrissy.
I play Judy.
I'm sorry, Judy.
No, it's okay. So Judy is, when I was writing the film, I guess I identify more as a Chrissy. But I thought it would be more fun and more challenging to play someone who is, I guess, unraveling. So Judy is at a crossroads in his life where he's a performer and not really finding much success with that. And, getting to that 30-something age where he probably should be making some big changes in his life, and just doesn't know how to, and doesn't know that he needs to. And with the loss of, or with the absence of his friend Chrissy, I think this is his journey to figure out who he is without his kind of codependent best friend by his side.
Okay. Wyatt.
Chrissy is also a performer who's trying to make it. And instead of figuring out how to make it as is looking for some self-sufficiency and trying to, as gracefully as possible, tend to this important formative relationship that Todd so beautifully spoke about, but also take care of himself and experience that thing that we all have to go through at certain points in our lives where we recognize, as much as you love someone, maybe they're not the best influence for your process of getting to your goals.
Okay. Joey.
Hi. I think Marcus enjoys games a lot. I think, but I think that he wants to make all the rules, and doesn't like when anyone probably breaks his rules. But he is, I think he enjoys chasing. I don't want to say too much, but Marcus is a game player. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, Kiyon.
Hi. So my role is the catalyst, I guess, between Chrissy and Judy's relationship. A boyfriend that's on again, off again, that's living in Philly, and wanting to make this work. And it's I think we've all kind of experienced someone in our lives that has kind of pulled us from a relationship that we hold near and dear. And he doesn't come across as a threatening person. I don't think he is a threatening person, but he presents a threat to something that's pretty deep rooted. So it's interesting to see how this one person who has a relatively small part has such a big part in their lives.
And James.
I think Samoa is one of those whimsically vapid narcissists that New York is full of. And for Todd's character, I think all of Samoa's scenes have a bunch of mirrors in them, and you see like this second reflection of Judy throughout when they're with Samoa. And I like to think of Samoa as this like sort of rebound friendship that Judy's trying to social climb, kind of excusing some of this duplicitous behavior and like their base flat out lies about their lack of wealth. Yeah, I think that answers the question.
The relationships in this movie feel very lived in. I'm just wondering, did you all know each other before this?
So I did know everyone before we cast the film, except for Kiyon. Actually, Kiyon came to us through a recommendation from Wyatt, and we were just like it was fate. James and I actually went to NYU together in undergrad, and I the whole time I was writing the script, I was writing with them in mind. And Joey and I met a couple years ago in like an on-camera acting class back in New York. And I wrote with him in mind. And Wyatt is someone, we did a reading of a play together like 4 years ago, and just had this intense connection and bond. And,
Exactly.
as actors do, we came in and out of each other's lives. And he can probably tell the story better than I can, but he was visiting Provincetown, where I live now, and sort of randomly saw me and texted me and said, "Are you living in Provincetown now?" I said, "Yes." And it just so happened that night I was getting some friends together to hear the script out loud and do a reading. And I was like, "Would you come and do this reading?" And as soon as he read it, I was just like, "Oh my God, this is Chrissy." So that's how everyone came to the script. Yeah.
Nice. This film is obviously a labor of love. I mean, I was reading about the budget. The budget was pretty tiny for this film, but can all the other actors talk about just work on this project, which is basically a labor of love, and what drew you to want to make this?
When you're in a situation where you recognize that someone, fans the flames of your enthusiasm and your excitement, as Todd so beautifully does when you're fortunate enough to work with him on anything, you can't step away from that. And when Todd and I met, the first time we ever worked together was on a play here in the city. And Todd didn't write that piece. We were both acting in it together. But it was so clear that he was one of those people who, when you're doing something well, he tells you, when you have an idea, you feel and know you can share it with him. And he says yes. And given that dynamic that the two of us had throughout the entire process, there was no aspect of it that felt like, of course it was incredibly hard work, but it didn't feel like labor. Like, we were waking up at 4 a.m. in Provincetown to go shoot, and we were squealing with glee that we got to go do this together, So it's like one of those gifts that you're just so fortunate and happy to be doing it as a creative person, surrounded by people you love, making something you love.
I'll brag about you for a second, Todd. Todd's one of my favorite people because Todd is like, you know what? I have this idea. I'm going to make it happen. And it's like one of your many gifts. But this is the third project we've worked on together. There's not much I wouldn't do for Todd. I'll work with Todd. I'll do anything for Todd except vote Republican. But not that anyone would ever asked me to do that. But so when he asked me to do it, I hadn't even read the script, and I was like, "Yes, I'll do it." Believe.
Yeah.
I'll heap on the praise as well. I think everyone should do something well, and for Todd to do so many things well it's inspiring. I certainly felt like I was in a creative rut before this project came along, and just to get the juices going, to know that someone put so much time from so many directions into it, it's inspiring. It is just singularly inspiring. So kudos to Todd.
Okay. Todd, obviously this seems like very personal material to you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. It is very personal material. I know I say it's not biographical, but I did leave New York after living there for 13 years when I was 31, I think. And I moved to Philadelphia to pursue this romance that I had been kind of in and out of for a while. And I knew when I left New York and when I was leaving behind my theater career that I had to do something in order to stay creative and advance my career in a new way. And I had dabbled in writing and directing before, and this just, I think more than anything, it started off as like a conversation with myself if I was Chrissy and Judy, these two people who were one person trying to carve out a new life for themselves in a world that was more heteronormative, the Chrissy, and then the other person who was just desperately not wanting to give up this uniquely queer creative life. And so when I was creating these characters, you know, I didn't want to write about an actor or a writer. And I thought, well, what's the most queer art form there is? And that was drag. So I had never done drag before. And it was a little bit of a concern of mine to choose to make these characters drag queens, but I just thought it would amplify the fun. And also, I just love the idea of showing two people who feel their most creative selves and their most authentic selves under makeup and a wig and jewels, and what that says about them as people in their pursuit of their authentic voice.
Wyatt, had you ever done drag?
I had never done drag. I played female characters. I did this Carol Churchill play called Cloud Nine, and I played Betty, but Betty is very much a man in a dress. That's a conceit in the play. And
Okay.
I played Juliet, but not in drag. So no, is the answer to that question. But God, I loved doing it with Todd. My nails.
Yeah.
One of the central themes about this film is losing a best friend and discovering yourself in the process. And I think all of us at a certain age, you know, as gay men, get to that point. Can any of you want to discuss how you related to that central theme here?
Yeah, if I could say, I mean, the whole script has, that's a really good, I think, summation of the central theme, and it is pretty universal. I love queer film and I love queer film festivals. I am learning as this film gets distribution and stuff that the second a film is queer or a gay story, that it's somehow niche in the business or somehow labeled as less universal by distributors or audience members. And I think what you just hit on, it is very queer and it is about chosen family. But I think the things that it reaches into are things that this happened to me as a teenager. It happened to my, you know, my straight sister in her 20s. Like this, the fragility of our friendships and the effects that it has on us, it really taps into something universal about that. I think it's a huge part of why once we all saw the script, it was like, oh, I'll do anything for it, because it there's not an actor on the project that it didn't speak to.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it tells a beautiful, you know, the way it ends. Friendships change, they evolve. I don't think they need to end as a result of relationship or children or whatever, you know, life throws your way. It's about evolution and really understanding that, you know, at your core, you still have this deep connection with another person. But sometimes it needs to change to survive. And it's really beautifully told. And that there's still hope, at least the way that I read it, at the end for this relationship to survive in a different way.
Okay. Joey, Bros is our opening night film this year. So we basically, you know, you're our opening night film, you're in our closing night film. So it's the Joey Toronto Film Festival. We might as well.
That is fucking crazy. Wow. I haven't seen Bros yet. I'm like so excited to see it. What a wild month. It's a wild.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So just all of you talk to me a little bit about what's next for you all, and Todd, what's next for the film?
Yeah, so a lot of really great stuff has come from this. You know, I ask these folks here to join me in making this film with no money and scotch tape and love. And I wasn't sure where it would go or what would happen to it. And we have just been so blessed. I mean, like I looked at the website the other day and I saw Bros, I saw Coleman Domingo, and I saw us on your splash page. And I like teared up because I was like, whoa, I mean, I never thought in a million years that we would be so lucky. After Atlanta, we go to a few more festivals. And I think by the end of November, we'll have been in 15 cities and 4 continents, which is like mind blowing. And then we have secured some distribution, which is still in the works, but hopefully we'll be, you know, out in the world even more than I ever anticipated by the spring of 2023, which is very exciting.
That is so exciting. The rest of you, what are you working on next?
I'm in production for the 3rd and final season of After Forever, which is the Kevin Spiritus Amazon. I'm on that show. So we just started up with that and it's phenomenal. And beyond that, you know, the world is our oyster.
That's great. Mitchell Anderson is in that show. Mitchell Anderson lives in Atlanta.
Well, hopefully I'll see him at the festival.
Okay,
Phenomenal.
great.
At the festival? Sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it.
The festival.
There you go. There you go.
That's great.
I will say I have a comedic true crime podcast called Disappeared, Obsessed with Disappeared. Just for the record, we do not make fun of victims or their family. It's nothing like that. Just okay. I always want to make that very clear. But I'm touring with that right now, and that's keeping me pretty busy. And you know, other things in the works. It's always shit you can't talk about. You know what I mean? But I'm very, I have to tell you, like in this moment right now, I am so filled with gratitude for all the good things that are happening, and also watching everyone in this Brady Bunch square. I guess we're missing 3 people. Just like their art being put out there, their talent being put out there, their hard work. It's like a beautiful thing. It just feels kismet, and it's just a good time. I am like, my head might blow off my shoulders any moment. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's great. That's great. We do a lot of Zoom Q&As, and this is my first official Zoom Q&A of this festival, and the first Zoom Q&A I've ever done with COVID. So thank you all for bearing with me and being patient with me today. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
We're so delighted. The film is Chrissy Judy, is out on Film's closing night film this year. It screens October the 2nd at Outfront Theater Company. It'll also have a brief streaming window after the festival is over. You're going to love it. All of our programmers did. Thank you all for joining us to talk about the film. And Todd, we'll look forward to having you down here for closing night. You'll have your closing night guest, and we'll have a kick-ass party afterwards.
Yes.
That's great.
So excited.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you for having us.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.